us. To help us out, we're going to see a bunch more crappy TV shows and movies about robots gone bad.
Yeah, the robots. Dr. Sharif, how are you doing? I know you got some big events going on in Bangladesh. I was just talking about people about you and everything like that because they were trying to do a conference in the New York area. So I said that they need to get in touch with you and maybe they can participate in your conferences coming up because they are organizing one. I think it's mostly around women, but they will have a few men and everything like that. But how is your conference coming? And when is the conference again? I know it's coming up. I want to say in either May or June, but I know it's coming up soon.
Yeah, thank you. We have conference for commercialization for marketing purpose. Definitely, it's an academic conference. Many scientific papers from around the world we are getting for this conference. We publish our conference papers through innovative academic research publishers through this Paris National Library and so on. This is very interesting case studies. You can find every countries from North Americas, from Europe, from South Asia, different corporations. They develop their case studies, how the commercialization part work, how artificial intelligence creating impact. Even you can find many interesting aspect of this war, these challenging situations, because you know that because of this war, heavily this emerging economy heavily affected by this war, especially for the economic purpose, for this energy purpose, and so on. So hopefully through this conference, and definitely we always publish through Pot TV. I want to welcome you all in this high quality and impactful conference. And if any of the corporations and academia or research institution or media want to collaborate with us, we are happy to collaborate with all of you. Your valuable comments and scientific research is valuable for the academia and industry. Thank you.
I appreciated
Two
everything.
things out of Russia. Two things out of Russia here. So Russia may be starting to send drones to Iran, and Russia is now making $760 million a day off of oil. Because this war has helped them raise money for their war by increasing the price of oil. Sasha?
Yep.
Well, I would like to mention that you're right that Russia is a beneficiary supplying this war.
You got to get
Um,
closer to the mic.
okay. So Russia is beneficiary of this war so far. There are some others. My question is, what is United States getting out of this war? What is their benefit so far? Anybody?
Trump has not made a clear case for what we're getting out of this. He contradicts himself.
Mm, He says that he's getting stuff because I know he said he's got some great big surprise, but it sounds like it's for him, not necessarily for the country and everything like that. So that's one of the things that people are trying to figure out is what did Iran give him? Because they're saying that they're not negotiating, even though, as I was just saying, Sasha, another leader was recently killed. I think it was their naval commander and everything like that. So they said that they are not negotiating. And like I was telling Rick, there's been some innovative propaganda that they have put out as well and everything like that. So how long do you think? Because I know there was a time that folks thought that the Ukrainian war, or at least people in Russia, would think it was only going to last a day, and what we're going to go into year 4, almost year 5, and everything like that. So, how long do you think this war in Iran is going to go, and how is the war in Iran impacting what Zelensky can do in terms of?
I'm looking at an article from the Telegraph out of London saying that we only have another month's worth of missiles to use at our current rate. So then what happens?
Yep.
Well, I don't think that without boots on the ground, the United States can get anywhere forward in this war. So the boots on the ground, I think it's coming the next few days. And then we'll see how it is effective and how it can get the result of this war any positive for Trump, because right now it's from judging from the latest election in Florida, in Mar-a-Lago, by the way, Democrats won both. So it seems to me that the political future of Trump will be decided in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, he even before the war, the Republicans were projected to lose 28 seats in the House, and if they lose as few as 3 seats, they will lose their majority, and the Democrats will take over the House.
Yeah.
So
But-
there's absolutely no way that they hold the House, and the Senate is right now a 50-50 even chance.
Yes, so they could actually capture both chambers and everything like that. Sasha, I know in the past you talked about being a fan, not just in the U.S. but in Canada, of military service, and I know you served in the military yourself and everything like that in Russia and other places. But it looks like they're going to have not so much a draft, but that they're going to get older soldiers. I did watch a news story where they said that they're going to get U.S. soldiers that are now going to be up to the age of like 45, I think. So what's your take on this? Because they're saying that they might even recruit some soldiers. I would still be past it because I'm now in my 60s, but they might be recruiting some people to be soldiers that are older. So it might not just be our young people that'll be soldiers, but I think they said up to it's either 42 or 45.
42. They raised it from 35 to 42.
Gotcha.
Okay, in Israel, people as old as 55, they are going through every year through training, through preparation. Therefore, Israel has such a great army because they basically almost all men's population is one way or another participates in the military service, preparation, and so on. Maybe you should take your time and watch once again. Very good movie back, I think it was 1982, by the name Officer and the Gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
It's Richard Gere.
Yeah.
That movie shows you the difference between himself, who came into the army as a young, selfish man, trying to get above everybody else and give some kind of money here and there, where he became a team player. He became somebody that people could rely upon. So he, after the service, he was completely changed man. He became a man. Before that, he was a capricious boy. He was nothing. And at the end of the movie, you see a real man, an officer and a gentleman.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic movie. There's no doubt about that.
It's a plus.
So the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is an international organization, has come up with its updated inflation forecast, and its forecast for the U.S. has gone from 3% inflation to 4.2% inflation for this year, obviously based on the war. And so, yeah, this is, a well-regarded international organization. I think that's conservative. I think we'll be at 5% inflation at some point this summer. And of course, 5% is a number that got Biden in trouble.
Yep.
When it happened to him.
Yeah, but he's wasn't there another president, Rick, that was considered a Teflon president? So it sounds like with the MAGA folks that he's got that same reputation that I think Reagan had.
We'll see. We'll see if
Teflon Iran.
We'll see if he stays so Teflon when inflation hits 5% at the end of June.
Yeah, that'll be the interesting thing when it hits that percentage, if that's the case and everything like that. Because definitely, and how it impacts the gas. I know a lot of people are still upset about it and everything like that. So
paying $8 for a pound of butter, or $8 for a gallon of milk. People will be pissed.
They'll definitely be pissed and everything like that. But a couple of other stories came up. The DHS is still got some serious despair because there's a bunch of folks that are not working, and I think it's 2 days before Senate is about to go to recess. So there may be a lot of folks that are there, and they can't agree on body cameras for the ICE agents that are helping TSA. And
the ICE agents aren't really helping. They're not doing a lot at the airports. They're the wait times the average wait times at U.S. airports continues to go up every day, and even by adding ICE agents to the flow, is not reduced wait times.
Yeah, and I know that definitely Dr. Sharif has had students that have thought about coming to the U.S., but apparently there's an immigration slowdown which has hit every major area in the U.S. according to what the census is saying, everything like that. So they're saying slow growth is impacting the nation's largest counties the hardest. So counties like in Texas and California and other places like that. So what are we thinking about this notion of not wanting the immigrants, so therefore their amount of flow into the state is going down and everything like that?
So we keep talking about the U.S. is making fewer than 80% of the babies that we need to have a stable population instead of a declining population. So if it weren't for immigration, the U.S. population would be declining. Right now, it's at the lowest rate in the entire 250-year history of the country. We're at less than 0.5% population growth a year. So it's not like we're being flooded with immigrants. And it's not, Trump has shut down the southern border. And I challenge you to tell me how your life is better in any way in America because the southern border's been shut down. I can think of one significant way, which is there's less fentanyl coming in, but that was a decline that started in 2024, even before, a full year and a half before Trump took over. Besides that, rents haven't gone down. The job opportunities haven't gone up. The U.S. has created zero net new jobs in the past 12 months.
Wow, so they created net zero jobs and everything like that. That's just amazing and everything like that. So we'll see how this all plays out with the job situation, which is definitely a concern to many people and what they're going through. So this ought to be interesting. And of course, people are still trying to figure out what's going on with the Epstein files and other things like that. So they're seeing that flipping of Mar-a-Lago was a good sign for the Democrats in that special election. So we'll see how that plays out as well. So lots going on in that world environment. What are you hearing about? I know y'all had y'all show on 2 days ago. You got another one on Friday, today being Thursday and everything like that. But what are you hearing about the Ukrainian conflict, Sasha? And what's the latest news and where are we at with that the conflict? Is there any decisive victory by either side, or what's going on with the Ukrainian war?
In my opinion, the war still continues there, obviously, and Ukraine is doing better and better as we speak. They're accumulated enormous experience. They got a lot of new weapons and ammunition. So therefore, the longer the war will be holding, the more advantages Ukraine will have, and eventually will get the war. Trump, I think he lost interest to that war and peace negotiations of some kind. He lost it because not only his involvement in Iran, but also the fact that after Europeans last Friday gave Ukraine $120 billion using Russian money as a collateral, so then all the so-called Geschäft between Putin and Trump is gone. It goes up in smoke because they wanted to split this money and do this. Okay, you do this and I'll do this, and okay, we are friends and so on. Done, gone, no more the money. So when there is no money, Trump is losing interest very quickly. Also, he wants to be associated with a winner. So for him, Russia was ultimate winner. It's bigger, it's stronger. Russia is not winning. Almost 4 years plus. So it's 5th year of the war. Where is Russia? They're taking 1/10 of Ukrainian territories in 5 years. So it will take 50 years to get anywhere what Russia wants. So he lost interest. He's out. And also now Europeans They provided the money to Ukraine. They're providing the ammunition and weapons and so on. So now they're at the table, and they will say, "Hey, Trump, who is Trump? And what are you doing here? Get the hell out of here! Nobody wants you here. Okay, bye bye."
Yeah,
So
speaking of folks that,
he lost his interest.
yeah, speaking of folks not wanting him and everything, apparently Hungary is getting involved again and everything like that because they are apparently having a deal with Putin and everything like that because they are definitely trying to, I guess, support their friend and all along those lines. So, what's your thoughts on that whole notion? Because they're saying that they're going to cut natural gas supplies to Ukraine until Russian oil deliveries resume. So, unless Trump delivers and other countries deliver oil to Russia, they're going to cut delivery to Ukraine. So is this going to be a major blow to Ukraine, or do they have enough natural gas and other gas supplies?
I think they have enough, and they will get it elsewhere. And I think Orban is a thing of the past. I think the upcoming election in Hungary is a big loser in that election, and after that, I think Hungarians have to make a trial of him and get a firing squad.
Yeah, that makes sense. Everything. What are you finding in the news, Rick? Because I know you're probably looking.
I'm looking for approval numbers for the war right now, and the approval for the Iran war has dropped to between 35 and 37%, according to recent, polls taken in the last couple days. So 35% approve, 54% disapprove, leaving about 10, 11% just not knowing what they think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Sasha, getting into another part of the world that you are involved with and everything like that, because apparently one of the CEOs of Air Canada got in trouble because he delivered the condolences only in English because there was that major crash and everything like that. But I don't really hear that much about plane crashes the way you hear about it in the United States. Or does Canada have a more tightly secure safety measures than the U.S.? Because I know you travel a lot. You've gone to the islands, you've gone to Europe, and I'm pretty sure you probably fly regularly on Air Canada and everything like that. So can you tell us a little bit about their safety protocols? Because right now we're dealing with TSA and stuff like that, but I don't know how Canada is to travel by plane.
Yes, I travel by Air Canada quite a lot, and it's not the best airline, I must say. It's a reliable airline. It's good enough to provide, I'm flying very often in business class, so they provide reasonable service, I wouldn't say. Of course, if you fly by, for example, Singapore Airlines, you'll get much better service. You fly, even Lufthansa, the A350 plane, it's absolutely fantastic device. It's 10 times better than Boeing Dreamliner and all that stuff. So A350 Airbus is 10 times better plane. When you're flying there, well, I'm talking about business class. I don't know about economy. In business class, you don't have to even talk. You can whisper and people will hear you. That's what a great sound isolation is in that plane, and the economy is great, and the food is great. I mean, everything is great for that. So Air Canada, okay, it's okay airline. It's in the middle, maybe even in the lower segment, what I would say. But it's okay. It can do the job. It does. So it's and sometimes you have to fly Air Canada because there are no other alternatives. Because Air Canada completely controls the Canadian market. It's almost monopoly. I mean, WestJet. There are a couple of other airlines, but they do control the Canadian airspace. So sometimes you just have to use them because there is no alternative. But they're not that bad. They're sort of middle
ground and everything like that.
I have a sports question for Jatovi.
Oh, I was actually going to ask you something else as well, but go ahead and ask your sports question.
So I barely know sports, but I like LeBron because he's in LA and because I'm old and he's old. But it looks like his game has changed. It looks like he's playing some kind of wily old man basketball where he's taking fewer shots, but his assists and rebounds are at a high level. So it looks like his knowledge of the court and where he can anticipate where people are going to be better. So is that a deal? Is this a renaissance of LeBron in a new role? You're muted.
So LeBron is playing on a team where you have Luka Doncic, who is a scoring machine. That's what Luka does. He just shoots the ball. So LeBron doesn't have to shoot the ball anymore or take the lead role in scoring. That's what Luka's job is. He doesn't even have to take the secondary role because that's what Austin Reeves is. He's that secondary shooter. So that takes a lot of weight off of him. And he doesn't have to use his body as much as he did when he was younger.
Right.
So it is a much more old style or an older person game on the NBA court, just the same way Michael Jordan did. But the problem was when Jordan went to Washington, Jordan was old. And in Washington had nobody around him. So he still had to score. And so it made Jordan look a lot older. It also wore in his body a lot more. LeBron doesn't have to do that. Kevin Durant right now is stuck in that same situation in Houston. Kevin Durant is a scoring machine. He's always been a scoring machine. And in Houston, they brought him in to being a scoring machine. He's old too, but he's still scoring, but it's not at the efficiency rate, or he's not playing at the efficiency rate as LeBron, and it doesn't look as stylish, and they aren't winning as much as LeBron is because LeBron has a whole setup around him that's more catered towards that. It's the same thing when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay after leaving New England. Tampa Bay had a great setup around him, so he doesn't have to do as much as he did in the past. And so he had a lot of extra help. So he could play the old man game and still get away with it and still look fabulous playing the old man game. But once you started getting hit, and Tom Brady started getting hit, and he looked rattled really quick. Once LeBron had to, earlier in the season, before they started going on this streak that they're on right now, once LeBron had to take the lead role in scoring, the Lakers looked like trash. They really did.
All right, another LA team, the Dodgers, they're going through a three-peat. I think the Dodgers have spent more on their players than any other team. And we know like the Yankees used to do that. So will they three-peat, and is it bad for baseball?
I don't think it's bad for baseball. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's an unfair situation for being in that market. So it's trying to balance out across the smaller market teams that don't have the same amount of money or the same amount of capital to spend on these big name players. So the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, they're always going to get the best players because
I've heard the opposite argument too, saying it's not the Dodgers who are bad for spending all this money because it's money they make from their franchise, and it's really the cheap little franchises who just pocket the profits and don't turn them back into the team.
Well, that's the difference between a smaller market team and a big market team. The big market team, you have a huge fan base. You're going to make a ton of money. As an analogy, say if Mark is that big market team, Mark is in LA. Mark has a ton of money to spend. Say Sasha is sitting in, we'll say
Montreal, Toronto.
Yeah, in Montreal or Toronto, a smaller market team that doesn't have all that money. So Mark can go out and hustle and grab. He can pay the many players go into the luxury tax, and it won't affect him. Sasha can't do that. Sasha has to be able to negotiate with his players, pick up a lot of rookies, go on trades, and pick up those players on those smaller contracts. And if so happens that you get a big player that's playing on their early contract, it's great. But as soon as they want that secondary contract, they're going to where? They're going to Mark. So now this player that you had that's dominating, we'll take Vlad Guerrero, who's playing for Toronto, and dominant player. But the thing is, if he's going to want a big time contract, he can get $500 million from Mark. He can't get $500 million from Sasha. So where do you
I
go
saw
play?
it. Like if you get lucky and you get a rookie, I guess the MLB minimum is $820,000
Yeah.
a year.
And so I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's across all.
This is across all sports, but just really
But
quickly
the
in that
thing is,
same
is
thing.
it once you have the NFL who's done a good job about handling the profit share, being able to distribute the money across different teams. Like the Cowboys, that's the most expensive franchise across sports. The Cowboys, big time fan base and everything. They haven't won a championship since '96, and they probably won't win one this year. But the thing is, what you're talking about in terms of how they spend their money, that's what the Cowboys are running up against, is how they spend their money and how they get their talent. But Seattle, as you see, which is a smaller market team, can spend the money a little bit more wisely. But in the sports that don't have that same style share, you have players and individuals that get tons of money, but the competitive balance is a little bit off. It's not as equal.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
that's
so
what's going to happen in
Mark
college.
had a
You don't have
question.
the NIL.
No, I just had another quick question to tie into that and everything like that, because I understand that they have a new contract with women's sports and everything like that. It's going to make the women get even paid more. And I think that just recently came down and everything like that. So do you hear something about that, Jatovi? And also you talk about three-peats. Dawn Staley, I know she's got some serious competitors with Connecticut and some other teams, and they're in their Sweet 16 and everything like that. So is there going to be a four-peat? Is Dawn going to be able to repeat, or is Connecticut going to knock them out?
So since I'm in that arena, I'll leave that alone. But in terms of the women's pro, it is good that they've made a deal where the salary caps go higher,
Right.
And the max salaries. Asia Wilson, she is the best player on the planet, and honestly, it is so great that she's finally getting paid more. And I hope the salary cap continues to rise, because as women's sports continues to grow, more investments go into
I
women's
was just looking at her.
Asia Wilson is a phenomenal player.
I'm looking at her. Last year she got paid $200,000, which is ridiculous. But next year she's predicted to get paid $1.4 million,
which is still trash in terms of what she does. And so as women's sports continues to garner more investment, and people start to see that women's sports is actually a great thing to watch. Women's basketball is fun. It is actually basketball. It's more basketball than the men's pro.
I actually, Jatovi, I actually heard I was watching one of the games yesterday, and I actually heard one of the players, I forgot which team she was with, but they actually described her as being the most complete player, even more complete than the male player, as everything like that. But it was one of those.
I keep trying to get my wife to go to a WNBA game with me, because the tickets are cheaper. Also, it's a shorter game. It's only 40 minutes compared to 48 for men's basketball. So you're out of there faster.
And the thing is, if you like basketball, the way it's supposed to be played is how the women play it. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy men's basketball and everything else. I love sports. So with women's basketball, you can see the plays being set up. You can see how the passes are going. Yes, you may have a dominant player like an Asia Wilson, but for her to be dominant, you can see her team working the ball around. You can see the setup of the play. You can actually see basketball. With men's, and this is honestly why I'm a big fan of OKC. I was a fan of I like Golden State, the way they were playing and try to play, but they don't have the players to do it now. But OKC right now is playing that way. And so is San Antonio. San Antonio's back to it. This is why I'm so excited about Victor Wembanyama, is they're starting to move the ball around a little bit more, and more people are actually playing the game of basketball.
All right, I got one more crazy number. Caitlin Clark, maybe the most famous WNBA player. She's in a ton of ads. She got paid $78,000 last year.
Yep.
That's so all right. So,
but that doesn't include her endorsement deals, does it?
Right. So yeah, she does fine, but still, that's a ridiculous salary.
It is very ridiculous. And Caitlin Clark, she was able to bring in a lot of casual fans into it, the same way, in a similar way that Steph Curry brought in a lot of fans, because it was the average person that they looked like. Caitlin Clark wasn't this big, it wasn't, this dominant player like Cheryl Swoops or the others that are out there. But she just looked like your average player, and she became that. It gets a negative connotation when you say this, but she became that great white hope. A lot of people looked at her and saw her in a different light. Then it became, it sparked, it was a racial battle, and it still happens between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in terms of fan bases and stuff that brought people in. There's never really been there's been some rivals in women's basketball, but nothing to the extent.
All right, I have a different area of nonsense to talk about off a drudge, which is, we've been talking about the U.S. and a bunch of other countries have a baby shortage, and we know Gen Z is having less sex. And according to this study, if you have less sex, you have lousier sperm. But if you don't recycle your sperm at any kind of rate, the old sperm you have sitting around does a worse job of getting people pregnant. So less sex leads to fewer babies, for not just because you're not putting sperm into somebody, but because your sperm is crappy when you do put it into somebody.
And the eggs might be getting crappy as well. We don't know what's going on with the women's body. That's the men's body that you're talking about and everything like that. I was going to come back to sports just for a minute. Everything that I had a question about Canada for you, as well as the trophy and everything like that. But I did hear an interview with Tiger Woods where he's realized something that everybody should realize. It's just a fact of nature, because apparently he's realizing that you get older. So he was actually saying that he knows that he's getting older and that he's hoping to make it to the Masters.
Tiger Woods wrecked his body.
The way that he used to.
Tiger Woods wrecked his body, his strength. Golf is not a natural thing to do with your body. And if you hit the ball as hard as he did for as many years as he did a lot of damage. And then he crashed his car and almost lost a leg. Right. So he's got a lot of, he's almost 50 years old now.
Yeah, he's in his late 40s.
And if you watch him play, sometimes he can get 2 good days in a tournament. Good on Thursday, good on Friday. By Saturday, he's falling apart.
Yeah, and he also was somewhat of a player, and we know that that's been an issue.
Well, that doesn't play into it. It's what Rick is talking about. Right. The big thing what Tiger Woods did with his body. When Tiger entered into golf on that major level, Tiger was doing stuff to keep himself on top that nobody else was doing at the time. And he truly did put his body through hell. I mean, the dude did everything to make sure that he was at top of his game. Training with the Navy SEALs and all this other stuff. Yeah, the dude did put in work. And when that car accident happened, it caught up to him.
And he's in a way, he's the opposite of LeBron. LeBron is known to spend about $1 million a year on body maintenance, and he has a warm-up before every game. I don't know exactly what he does, but it's a 3-hour warm-up. I assume it's exercise, it's stretching, it's probably meditation, and he does it so he can continue to play. And if you look at him lifting weights, he's as strong as an NFL player. Mm-hmm. And he's got a full medical chef. There's all this huge staff just devoted to keeping his body from getting destroyed.
Yep, that makes sense and everything like that. Speaking of sports and everything, I mean, other things outside of sports. Sasha was talking earlier about Air Canada and everything. When you travel to Canada to visit your relatives and everything, Toby, do you go by plane or do you go by just strictly car? And what is your suggestion for the planes that you think are going the opposite way, America to Canada and everything like that?
I mean, we typically drive. Okay. We'll take the 15-hour trip. We cross over either the Peace Bridge or the Rainbow Bridge right there. Usually the Peace Bridge is the easiest way to get across because it's not as busy. If you go to the Rainbow Bridge, that's where all the tourists are. If you go a little bit further, there's actually one of the more construction style truck bridges where you hop across and you land. There's a little island that you go on and then you go on another bridge. But yeah, we just drive, and it's only to get to where they are. It's only about 15 hours. It's not too bad because we'll stop in Beckley or either Beckley, Washington, right there. Not Washington, D.C. There's Washington, Pittsburgh, or Washington. Yeah, it is Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. And we stop right there and just keep going straight up.
If you have a U.S. trip, if you have a trip that leaves from the U.S. and it's less than 500 miles, it probably makes sense to drive it now because airport wait times 4 to 6 hours. Like Vegas is 300 miles. Normally it's a 45-minute flight. But when you factor everything else in, it's a 5-hour drive. You might as well drive. And when you get to Vegas, you've got your car.
Yep. That makes sense.
Honestly, that's one of the reasons why we drive. I mean, it's not that bad of a drive. When you start, for me, once you start to get to the 20-hour range, then yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, but driving 15 hours isn't too bad because, yeah, I mean, we hit Toronto at about maybe 12 hours because the way we take wrapping around Lake Erie. And Sasha, I'm sure you've driven that route.
Yeah.
Just coming down Highway 90. Highway 90 is just fine. You just burn down the road. You hit right there at Lake Erie, and you go straight down from Lake Erie. And, yeah.
Then Queen Elizabeth Way.
Yep. QEW.
Sasha, so if people want to, if people are a little bit fatigued by what's going on in the U.S., they want to go to Canada, where should they go for a 3-day long weekend in Canada?
Well, those on the west coast, probably they will go to Vancouver. Vancouver Island is a very pretty place, Victoria. Actually, Victoria is capital of Columbia. Well, those on the east coast, they may go to Montreal, Toronto. Quebec City is very nice. I guess there are a lot of options. Of course, not in the winter time. You don't want to do it in winter time. But now, since from May to September, even early October, that's fine. That's very good.
Sasha, I was online earlier today.
Sasha, don't hide the secret.
Because I had a question weather-wise for Sasha, because I was online earlier today talking to a young lady. I think she was in Quebec and everything like that. And she actually took the phone because she was on TikTok and everything. And it was snowing there and everything like that. So do you have snow outside of your house and everything like that right now? Because she was getting snow in the middle of March when we were in early spring, but she was getting snow in that part of Canada that she was in.
Yeah, there was a brutal winter this year, unlike any other year. Really, I don't remember anything close to what's happened this year. Thank God I was able to get away from it all for some time, but still it's a lot of snow, very cold, like minus 25 Celsius. She wish with wind, so it was quite impossible. Really, I don't wish anybody to come to Canada during this type of weather. Now from May, as I said, from May to September, maybe early October, that's fine, and you'll enjoy yourself.
That makes sense. As we get ready to wrap up, we only got a few more minutes to go. I know you are a student of culture, just like I am, and everything, Sasha and Jacoby. And I had the pleasure yesterday on my online dinner party of having two folks that were focusing on some historical figures and everything like that. So there was a gentleman that was actually the boyfriend after O.J. of Nicole Brown Simpson. So he was on the show. And then also, if you're into people that are like unique artists, because she worked with Weird Al and stuff like that, Judy Tanada's film biographer was on the show as well. So Judy Tanada just passed back in Tenuta passed in 2022, but definitely had that whole love goddess kind of reputation and everything like that. So it was interesting hearing Brent's reflections on her and everything like that. So y'all can go back and watch that interview. It should be on the network, on the showcases and everything like that. So it's definitely out there. But it was interesting hearing some of their insights, because I think he had some time in Aspen, because I know you were in Boulder, but the boyfriend of hers had a restaurant in Aspen, Colorado.
Wait, what's the question?
It wasn't a question. I was just letting you know that you could go check that out. It was more of a question. It was more of a statement of upcoming of shows in the past that y'all can go check out. There was also some other filmmakers that were there as well, including some local filmmakers and everything like that. And a young lady from Melbourne, Auburn, who is big into aphrodisiacs. So it's always a very unique and eclectic mix of people that I put together for the dinner party, which is why I call it the dinner party and everything like that. So it was another eclectic mix and everything like that. But it was fun conversation. So if you wanted to, you can go back and watch that. Do we have any idea when the next, speaking of eclectic conversation, Naked at Night is going to be? Because that's a show that
I talked to JD a couple days ago, and he's still down in McAllen, Texas, dealing with his mom. His mom is in her 80s, and she needs help. And JD was the family member available to help her, and they're trying to line up. They needed to get approval from Medicaid to get in-home care a few hours a day. And once that's in place, JD will be able to come back to LA and we'll be able to start doing shows again. But right now, he's still down in Texas.
That makes sense. How is the care for folks that choose to go into care, Sasha? I know that you're definitely very much alert and everything, and I'm sure you don't need that care anytime soon. And I hope that you never need that care and everything like that. But how much is the care industry for those folks that are older in Canada? I don't know enough about Canada to know how they do and everything like that.
Well, you have different options. Some of them are very affordable, but the quality of care, I don't think is the greatest one, but at least it's available. Now, those people who can afford a little bit more, they have very nice options to stay in hotel-like facilities with 24 hours service, and so there's nothing to complain about, actually.
That makes sense. It's good to have that kind of care and everything. Is it part of the government care or the good health care that y'all get, so they are able to get some discount fees if they get that kind of care in Canada? That is.
You cannot discount. No, it's pretty well market driven. You see, the care is not essential. I mean,
Right.
It's not every person really need it. A lot of people don't need anybody's care, and they're just dying without any other care. So, but there are options available. You don't want to use these options, okay, you don't use it, whatever you want to do. But the options are there. So if you want to use these options, it's available. It's there.
Yeah, that makes sense. The last thing I was going to bring up, and this for everybody, we can also talk about it on tomorrow or maybe even World Politics later today, if we all get together for that show, is apparently, Rick and everybody, there is a new strain of COVID that is out there. People think COVID is done, but apparently there's a new dangerous strain. I think it's BA32 or something like that, but they are saying that there is a new strain out there that folks need to be cautious about, because apparently it is not as able to be attacked by the current vaccines as is already.
There's always a new strain coming up because viruses are sloppy when they reproduce.
Right.
So if you have enough people with COVID, somebody's gonna cook up a new strain, and it's gonna proliferate. But lately, COVID numbers are low nationwide. So if we're lucky, the new strain won't cause a huge spike, because we're going into summer and COVID numbers are at their lowest in the summer when people are outside and aren't spreading it in classrooms and stuff. So I'm hoping for the first time this year, at least on the West Coast, since COVID started, we didn't have a Christmas spike. And I'm hoping that even with the new strain that we can continue to get lucky and we can have a good summer, and which would lead to a decent fall. There are only 2 states right now with maybe Louisiana and Michigan that have high levels of COVID. Everybody else is moderate or low. So, fingers crossed.
We'll keep our fingers crossed about COVID, and on the other lighter side, we'll keep our fingers crossed about pollen, because I know that that's a major issue here in the South, because people are upset about their pollen counts and everything, even though it's not as deadly, even though there are some people that have severe allergies, but it's nowhere near as deadly as COVID. But yeah, people, because even like I've got some friends that are upset about the yellowing of their cars and just the pollen, because it's at a higher rate now and everything like that. So. But on that note, we're ready to get on out of here, and we'll talk about some other things later on this evening, hopefully on World Politics. I'll create that link and see who joins me, if anybody, and all along those lines. And then we'll come back, of course, for this show on World Edition. We do have some guests coming next week, and I'm hoping to get Steve back as well. But I know we have a guest about diplomacy and a guest about, I think it's a medical guest as well, but they won't be until next week. One will be on the 3rd of April, which will be next Friday, I believe, and the other will be on the 7th, which will be the following Tuesday. That could be right before one of your Ukrainian shows, Sasha. And I will be creating the links in the next couple of days, so I'll get those to you as well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.